ourselves in the land of I am. We are in that place where whatever comes behind those two little words, I am, that is what we are. So today we began a new series in terms of our global vision, creating a world that works for everyone. And this month we are specifically going to focus on spiritual guidance and personal responsibility. And the focus thought for today's lesson reads this way. We believe that life is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. So that song, in the land of I am, God knows itself so well that it can say, I stand on my confidence in my word, who I am, and that it shall be done by my word. And this is a characteristic that we eventually come to know about our own selves, that when we give our word and we perform our word, we know what our character is around that. So, what is it when we start talking about what is the self-knowingness of God? What is the self-knowingness of spirit? What is the self-knowingness of the individual that you are? So as I researched this word, self-knowing and self-knowingness is spirit. It is God. Some would say that it is God in truth. Others will say truth is God. Some will say it's your intuition. Some will say it's the Christ within. But it is that knowing that you know, that you know, that you know, that you know, that you know. You just know stuff. That is that self-knowing. And let me tell you how I got to my own place of understanding my own self-knowingness. And it starts with these little words, know thyself. We have to come to a place of knowing what we will do and what we won't do. We have to come to a place of knowing what we will be and what we won't be. We have to come to a place of understanding what our capabilities are, what our limitations are, what boundaries we're willing to break. And I dare say when we find ourselves in some stressful situations where we have to make a decision, we will push a limitation and a boundary to a new level of being because we will break that limitation or break that boundary. Ask, should I say, any mother, what is it that you will do for your children? Ask any father that loves his family, what is it that you will do for your family? See, society have these beautiful conventions by which we live. We have these mannerisms, behaviors, mores, and we live by those things. But sometimes the circumstances and the situations that we find ourselves in causes us to go beyond what that mannerism, that behavior, that more is. Our customs get changed and we do something a little bit different. I'll never forget, with my sisters and brothers, we actually dared to do this thing. We dared to ask my mother which one was her favorite children. Now this woman had 7 kids. Seven kids, man, 7. And we had the nerve to ask her which was her favorite. Would she dare speak to this group of 7 kids that she had a favorite? And what she did was just raised her arms to surround all of us and say, come here, I love all of you the same. And I could just hear my sister Beverly, who was standing beside me at the time, say, no, it's you, Carolyn, it's you. And I'm like, no, it's you, it's got to be you. But Mother never said that she had a favorite child. But what is it that she would do to let us know that she loved every last one of us? I can recall my mother walking in the room, in our bedroom, and she would look at our clothes, especially our shoes, because with her having grown up on a farm, she valued good feet, and she knew it was important for us to have good shoes because we had quite a distance to walk just to go to school. Even though we were in the city and we were walking on concrete, we still had quite a distance to walk. So she made sure that we had good shoes. And she said, Carolyn, you're so rough on shoes. You tear up really good shoes just by you walking. And I don't know what it was that I was doing, but she was correct. I could go through, 2 or 3 pairs of shoes in a year's time. And she was buying decent shoes for us. But she was also concerned about Beverly's feet because Beverly had a long, thin, narrow foot. Have you heard of these women who wear AAA? Beverly. She wore that smaller shoe. Her feet were just that fine. So Mother had difficulty finding shoes for her too. But what is it that she would do to make sure that we had everything we needed, especially being an African American family and not having access to a lot of what maybe other people had access to? We went to the country and we worked with our uncles on the farms to make sure we had food in the house because there wasn't any money in the house. So when Mother was able to have money coming in, she bought shoes to put on her feet, which meant that she let some other things go and that she wasn't so focused on herself and her individual personal wants because she wanted to make sure that her children had exactly what they needed. So when we speak of the idea that Ernest Holmes present to us in terms of our Declaration of Principles, we believe the manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. For me, it means that when I speak my word, I'm using the creative process to bring about the condition or the situation or whatever the thing is that I want to experience. That's what I feel it means. We are speaking a word, just as God spoke the word, let there be light, and there was light. That was the creative process. But we also recognize that it is in the speaking of the word that the causation begins that creative process. Now, when we understand that the nature that we have is the nature of God, simply because we're created in the image and the likeness of God, just as God speaks forth its word, when we speak forth our word every day in many different situations, we begin that creative process again. Every time. Every time. Now, this is a little bit of a different teaching than what I've done previously. Remember me telling you that in our stages of growth, we're continuing to evolve into better learning and better understanding? A lot of people would say, oh, stuff happens. Yes, stuff happens, but what did you create in your mind? What did you create? I mean, we have to begin to learn to take responsibility for many of the situations that occur in our lives, especially those that we can definitely avoid. So what I'm hoping that we begin to do is to get out of being kindergartners and first graders and second graders, and let me put it this way, elementary students in metaphysics, and move into high school, and need be, if you're there, into college in metaphysics. Because when you are working with your stages of consciousness, of spirit, and how life is, you begin to understand how the spiritual laws, the universal laws that are before us, how they work. We understand what they are. Sometimes, even though we recognize those laws, we don't exactly have a grasp of how they work. And we think they're working on our behalf, and the law is just there, and we don't exactly get what we expect to receive. So if we are expecting through the power of our word to speak a thing and see it come into manifestation, we know that it is the divine substance of life that is moving into some kind of form. Is that right? And we all have to take some personal responsibility around what is that substance and what is that form that we're putting this divine substance in. Now, as I was studying about this, my training from graduate school came back to me. And I remember taking this cytology course. And cytology is the study of the cell, an individual cell, and looking at the various organelles within the cell. I had the privilege, believe you me, when I say privilege, it is a privilege because everybody don't get a chance to do this. I had the privilege of looking through an electron microscope to look at an individual cell. It blew my mind. But the magnification was so powerful, I was able to see the various little organelles inside of the cell. The ribosomes, the mitochondria, all of those little things. I was able, the nucleus, I was able to see all of that. Magnification is extremely powerful. I was able to see its structure and how that structure was broken down to, I could see the molecules that came together to form the structure, and as I kept looking, I could see through an even more powerful magnification how it moved down into the appearance of nothingness. But I knew it was there. I could see that it was there. But as the magnification got smaller and smaller, I could see it better. The higher the magnification, I could see all the way down to the infinite. All right, my definition at that time was to nothingness, because I knew that the ribosomes, the mitochondria, I knew all of it was there. It was the energy of it. I could see it. And I tell you this story simply because something caused that form to move from an energy state into a form that you could see. This was the ribosome, or this was the mitochondria. This was a visible structure that I could see, not with my naked eye, but through the eye of such a high-powered microscope. You cannot see mitochondria with your naked eye as we sit in this room. It's impossible, but by faith we know that it's there. It's there. So let's move this concept, this idea, to what happens in our real life. The way that manifests in our real life is that we often have to make a lot of decisions a lot of choices about stuff, right? And sometimes we just don't know what to do. I can recall when I was in such a position that I needed to make a choice. I was not old enough to really make such a mature decision, but yet I was old enough for my parents to take their hands off for me to make such a decision. And I just didn't know what to do. So how was I to handle that? Well, I thought I was going to be a very wise person in making my decision. I would go to people that I knew and I would get input and insight. Why? Because I respected them and I knew that they would not steer me wrong. So I posed my question, how do I do this? What is the best thing? What would it look like? You know, the whole 9 yards of it. And as I asked all of these persons for their opinion about my situation, they gave me the answer of what it would look like for them. And they filled that form for me of my answer. And I accepted their answer. And I selected their answer for my life. And guess what? What? I was not happy. I was not happy at all. I was not happy. So I decided I have to do something different. And what that something different turned out to be is that the next time I had to make a decision, people who knew that I needed to make a decision voluntarily start coming up to me telling me what to do. Oh, that kind of made me feel a little upset. Like, you know, I didn't even ask your opinion and you're telling me. And I began to feel like I don't need anyone to tell me what to do. I just need to have the space to be quiet so I can figure this thing out for myself. So I began to have my own form of prayer, my own form of meditation, and I would sit and I would just talk it out with myself. And I began to figure out what is it that could be a workable solution for me that would make me happy. And I would say, okay, this would make me happy, and this would make me happy, and this would make me happy. But that thing that was suggested, that really won't make me happy. So I prayed and I asked Spirit to help me make a decision. And you know, just as clear in my mind, I heard, oh, just pick one. Either one of them will make you happy. Just pick one. It doesn't matter. And then I went to church one Sunday while I was in that place of deliberation. And Dr. Margaret said, the universe always back you up in your decision. Whatever it is, it backs you up because when you say, I am this, it moves in that direction to be that for you. So, but if you don't like your decision, you can always change your mind and go in a different direction, and that's just fine. So I made the decision. I didn't tell anybody. I was so happy with my decision because I used my words to fill the form that I wanted to experience, and it came into existence. And that was part of building up my confidence in myself to make my own decisions, as well as building up my faith in the knowing of the nature of God and the nature of God within me. This past few weeks, the Centers for Spiritual Living have been in a place of deliberation about an issue that has arisen that goes along with our theme, creating a world that works for all. If you will notice, just go back in our very recent history, there are some states in the South, Southeast, who have started coming up with these laws that are full of discrimination. You see this in North Carolina, Tennessee, Mississippi, and there are some others. Centers for Spiritual Living decided to have our 2017 convention in Tennessee, and Tennessee came up with this law that any person who was a psychologist or counselor or, healthcare worker could deny their services to anyone who they felt violated the counselor, the healthcare worker's religious beliefs. That's discrimination. So yes, it was really targeted to the LGBTQ community, but it has a significant impact to anyone else. So many of the members start asking the question, are we really going to go into that place, into that state, carry our dollars when they are violating what we believe in? We have as a core value love and love for all. We have as a core value being inclusive. And we have as a value diversity. We are embracing. So if we're creating a world that works for everyone, it means that we don't discriminate. So a lot of dialogue ensued, and a lot of people just said point blank, I'm not going. If you want to have the convention there, you will do it without me. I'm not going in that area to spend my dollars. As a result, the governor of Tennessee, when we first started this conversation, had not signed the bill. The legislature had passed it and put it on his desk for signature. And he was in a place of deliberating about whether or not he would sign it. So recently, just last week, he signed it. And as a result of him signing that bill, our leadership council finally took the step to practice what we teach, to practice what we preach. And we will not be having our 2017 convention in the state of Tennessee because many of the people that we expect to attend the convention would be discriminated against. So we're not going there. We have no idea where the convention will be, but it will not be in Tennessee because they passed that discriminatory law. I have my own personal story of what it's like for me, having been born and raised in Tennessee. What is it like for me to go there? I feel there are wonderful things there. I don't discriminate against the state, but there is a mental atmosphere of heaviness for me when I go. So I deliberately go in for a certain period of time, and then I come out. I go and I greet my families, I do whatever business I need to do, and I leave because I don't feel that sense of freedom. I don't feel that sense of knowing that I am intact and whole and will be cared for the way I'm cared for in this environment. I know it's my personal choice, but what I think is important for us to get from this message and this talk as we're looking at spiritual guidance and personal responsibility, how do we turn to the Spirit for guidance? We can always ask the Spirit to help us in our decision making. We can always ask. Sometimes we don't know that we can ask for guidance. But Ernest Holmes shared with us that there is in our realm of metaphysics a principle of guidance, and it's really simple. You ask for guidance. Guidance is given. That is akin to ask, and you will receive. But sometimes we don't ask because we don't know that we can ask for guidance. And that's why we won't receive, because we don't know. I mentioned earlier in the talk that when we come into understanding how to use spiritual laws and we begin to apply them to our lives, then we have to work with the law to bring about the desired outcome. We work with it. So, you don't say, I am healthy and whole today, and in the next moment says, oh, I feel so drudgery. I feel so low. You don't do that. You're healthy, you're whole, you're complete all the time. I know sometimes we may have these physical ailments, but we can rise above them, because within we're always recognizing that there is a spiritual structure to my being. There's a divine pattern to who and what I am. It is perfect God, perfect person, perfect being, and I am whole, complete, and entire. Our very nature gives us life. Our very nature is love. Our very nature is intelligence. Whatever it is that we need, whatever it is that we feel that we want, we can always turn to Spirit, and there is an answer, a very positive answer. So, in this day, I would love to encourage you to begin to turn to Spirit for guidance, for any question. Oh yeah, as a spiritual counselor, yes, I would love to assist you with questions that, pose a challenge for you. And in that regard, I'm very open to helping with spiritual direction. So is Reverend Allen and Reverend G, as well as our practitioner, Susan. But what I know is that we can experience the logical and necessary outcome of your infinite self-knowingness, because sometimes the answer to our question, the answer to our prayer, we already know. We're just not ready to go there. Yeah? We're just not ready to go there. But regardless, the answer is there. It's one that's so specific for you, and it's one that you will love. So with that, I'd like to bring this to a close.